Hello and welcome to Nightmares of Future Past, episode 13, Maintenance. And just like last season, you guys are going to be joining us as we do maintenance on everyone's characters to flush out anything that may or may not be off and to possibly make their characters more efficient and overall better. We'll be starting everything off with our favorites um, psychic, the almighty Ren. Uh, let me double check everything. There's a lot of the stuff is already technically at its breaking point to where I have to justify points of putting you up at power level. Uh, but so that way you actually do know, as you get previous information, you're getting from this season 57 points.
Dang.
Uh, which is a lot. It's not the highest amount of points being given because two people are ahead of you on that one, but it is there. And as I get to people, you guys will be able to see just how viewership does affect points. Uh, Areas for you that
Well,
have.
considering, apologies.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, considering that the episodes I missed were due to sleep and not just like not showing up or something happening, 57's not bad in my opinion.
Well, you're not being penalized either. You just anticipation is unfortunately a huge part of how you advance in this particular system. Uh, but you're not being penalized for anything. Um, when it comes to your powers, like I said for the most part, they can't particularly get any better until a point is reached where I can justify you getting additional power up in your rank. We haven't officially reached that particular justification point yet. Does your telepathy, which is your mind reading, that's also primarily your mental blast, is technically it's actually already at its limit. Does the mind reading section uh, technically can't really go up anymore? Uh, I can technically get away with how certain rules works, but your perception damage on it from 7 to 10, which does help you out. And because of a particular reading I did, that I can do for free, making your combat abilities more better as long as whatever it is isn't immune to mental effects. Uh, you don't really need to increase your uh, telekinetic shield, because it's already super good as is. That's the main reason why you have a 12 with your toughness and an impervious 12, which does mean things of damage rank 5 or less you don't care about. Your levitation uh, could be higher, uh, but we do have to keep in mind that you do have altitude sickness, which means if you go too high up, you start to have net minuses to things. So we could keep it at 60 miles an hour at rank 5, or for 10 points, we can double it, which will put you at flight rank 10, which pretty much means you'll be going at 4,000 miles an hour. So, would you like to have a ridiculous flight speed?
Well, since I can't fly very high, yeah.
And like I said, you jump from 60 miles an hour. Oh no, I jumped it by one because it's 10 plus 9 for speed. I overestimated the boost, but the boost is still. You're going 2,000 miles an hour. Which technically means no matter where you, from when you start your flight from the base to anywhere in Gotham, you can hypothetically get there super, super quickly. Uh,
That'll work.
yeah. Your move object is uh, an expensive power. That it's sitting at rank 8. Well, my brain does not want to work. Yeah. With accuracy 4, which is giving you the plus 10 to your to hit and DC 24. So you can, well, not 24, DC 23 damage. So when you hit, you're damaging. It's still multi attack. Because it's 4 points per rank, we can spend 8 points to put it to rank 10, which does increase the amount of weight you can affect. Does at rank 8, you can technically affect up to 9, oh, up to 6 tons. At rank 10, you can affect something that's weighing as much as 25 tons. But the major thing is the damage rank on it will go from a 8 to a 10, meaning they have to beat a DC 25.
That
Which,
does sound better.
yeah. Well, it's 8 points, so spend it, yes or no.
How much did the flight cost?
10 points.
Yeah, I'll spend it.
Because that puts it to a 42, that to a 10, this to a 5. Dun dun dun. Which means we can double check certain advantages now for what advantages you may or may not want. Because some of the advantages, like I said in the past, are one of the reasons why some party members can do certain things. And you don't really have that many advantages. You have Edict Memory, Move by Action, Ultimate Effect Will, which is for your defense, and Assessment, so you can better assess enemies. Uh, Not necessarily all of these will actually help you out a lot. I'm just double checking them to make sure they fit within your preview. You could get accurate attack, which you get a bonus to your to hit rolls, but a minus to the effect DC. So your telekinesis, which is at plus 10, you can turn to up to a plus 15, but the damage DC and the effect DC, pretty much the overall effect DC, drops by 5 points. So it's easier to resist, but you have an easier time hitting.
Mm,
Now, remember, you don't have to say yes to all of these. These are 1 point for them. So you can simply just say pass. And before we finalize any
Yeah, I think I'll.
conclusions, come back. Um,
Yeah, I think I'll pass on this one for now.
there is defensive attack, where you trade your attack bonus to increase your active defenses. So you can drop your +10 all the way to a +5 to increase your dodge and parry by the same amount. So instead of rolling with 8s, you can roll with 13s, making you harder to hit, but your telekinesis isn't so good because you have a less likelihood to hit because it's a +5. I mean, it drops to a +5.
Is that a constant effect?
No, you have to actually actively declare that you're doing the defensive attack. Now, there is technically slight loopholes and way around things that several other characters have been using that you technically can use. Um, Like, for instance, certain things can be stacked with one another. Like defensive attack can be stacked with power attack. Which what power attack does is you lower your attack to increase your DC. Now, the way that can be there's two ways to counteract this particular offset, so that way you technically can keep your +10 while still having an increased damage and increased defensive ability. And that comes down to skills. Does just about all of your bonus is coming from the fact that the telekinesis has accurate 4, which gives +8 to the attack roll, and it goes off dexterity, which is giving you the other +2, and you technically have nothing in the range skill telekinesis because you never had a need to have it. If, and this I say if because you have to actually greenlight this, we can technically put points into the skill telekinesis to offset the minus. In, like I said, well, technically the easiest way is the skill, because for every 1 point you throw at it, you get 2 ranks. So we can spend 5 points, and you'll have 10 ranks in telekinesis. Now, that in your normal attack doesn't benefit you, because you currently can't go above that 10. But when certain circumstances get applied, such as the -5 for power attack and the -5 for defensive attack, that extra +10 is what gets eaten instead of the base 10. So you still get the +10 to hit while doing more damage and are actively harder to hit.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
And like I said, because it's 2 skill ranks per 1 point put into it, so spending 5 ranks gets us 10 skill points, which means you're still within that limit. And
You mean 5 skill points gets us 10 ranks?
yeah, because it's 2 ranks per one
Yeah,
point spent. Which also then we
yeah.
can have you have defensive attack. I just have to record this down. And power attack, which means underneath your telekinesis, there'll be technically 3 additional attack methods, mainly because you don't have to always use the same one. There's going to be defensive attack, power attack, and then defensive attack slash power attack. And what that means is you don't always have to do all. I mean, you don't have to constantly do one. You can decide whether or not that you're just going to be defensive or just do power attack. But because of the particular... My brain's moving a little bit slow today, so give me a moment. But because of the particulars of it, your... I have to put preferences here and here. When you declare that you're just doing defensive attack, you still get the plus 10, but your dodge and parry become a plus 13. Damage is still 25, just for that. Power attack, you still keep the plus 10, but the DC becomes 30. If you're doing the defensive power attack, the DC to hit is 30, just with normal power attack. The accuracy is still 10, and you get and your dodge and parry become a 13. So it somewhat benefits you if you're trying to not get hit and defeat the enemy. Do it. And because power attack and defensive attack only cost 1 point each, that's only 2 additional points spent, meaning you've spent almost half your points, and in doing so, you fly faster, you have a better damage output with your telekinesis, and you have multiple different styles and attacks you can do with your telekinesis without actually eating into your accuracy with it. Therefore, you get to feel more combat heavy because you can literally defensive power attack, roll your plus 10, get a DC 30, while also still being hard to hit. And that's without having to spend a bunch of different points on all these different things. That's simply spending 8 points to increase your damage, 2 points for the 2 different attack venues, and then another 5 points to increase your attack to counteract those attack venues. So, yeah, it's pretty solid. Because you have that. Okay, what else can we do? My next recommendation would be to focus on skills. Because those have been the biggest drawbacks to any non-combat related thing, is your ability to skillify things. For instance, there's been several times where a investigation or an insight roll has been needed, and you've almost passed, but because you only have like a 12 in insight, which is still pretty good, it could be higher, and your investigation is only a 6. Having those go up will benefit you because unless certain things go a certain way, you're going to be possibly needing to use those in the next season. Your perception could be used to be higher because it is a 12, but you, just like with a lot of people who have decent perceptions, you guys have been not necessarily getting your very best you could possibly be. So we could increase that. You've had to use stealth several times, despite the fact you have nothing in stealth. Treatment has been needed. And even though you are good, 12 at it, that could be used to be higher. And you've never needed to actually use a vehicle, so we don't need to put stuff in the vehicle. and possibly if you want stuff in technology, because that has been a big thing that's come up several times in season 2, that if everyone was a little bit better skilled at it, a lot more stuff possibly could have been done. Now, you've only spent 25 out of 57 points, which means you have 27 points left, which means that's a lot of skill points. And we don't even have to spend all 27 of those points for your skills, but it would benefit you if we did do a lot of those points for them. Are you okay with increasing a bundle of those skills?
Yes.
Okay, let's start with one that's going to be quite important. Perception. We can dump 4 points, which becomes 8 ranks, into it, and that will pretty much set you at your max, which will be a 20. Are you okay with that?
Um. Repeat, please. I heard it like cut out in the middle.
If we spend 4 points, which will equal to 8 ranks, and we put it into it, you would be putting your 12 to a 20. Which pretty much means
Okay.
if you
Yes.
fail, it's because the dice spot hates you or you're fighting something extremely good at hiding.
Yeah. I'll take it.
Make that mark there. Uh, do you want anything in stealth?
Yes, because I remember the incident that happened where
Well,
I was supposed to hide, but I didn't. And the only thing that saved me is that I flew fast enough.
yeah. At the moment, we're just going to put 10 ranks into it, which is 5 points to make it a 10.
I was also going to suggest that. Yeah.
So we'll probably come back to it if you want it to be higher. Uh, Technology. You have nothing in it. How many points would you like to put in it?
3.
3 ranks or 3 points? Well, 3 rank. Yeah,
3
3 points. That's 8
points.
points, which gives you 6 ranks.
Yeah, 3 points.
Okay. Your treatment is a 12. It could possibly be good with being higher. Would you like to raise it?
Yes.
Do you want to raise it by only a couple points, or do you want to spend 4 points to make it max?
4.
Because it was 8 ranks, which turns that into a 20. Okay, 4, 8, 16. We are at 16 points spent, which has resulted in you have becoming really proficient in what's needed to be proficient so far. Okay, we got insight and investigation. There's a good chance that both of those are going to be needed next season. Your investigation is a 6, and your insight is a 12. Would you like to raise those? If so, how many points do you want to throw at them?
Um, I'm thinking 4 points in investigation and 2 points in insight. I think,
So 2 in insight.
and that would make it
A 16. And you said
okay. Yeah,
4
then I
into
said it right.
investigation. Did you say 4 into investigation?
Yes.
Which is a plus 8 ranks. So it's a 14. We are at 22 points spent. Which, like I said, you have an insight of 16, an investigation of 14, which is good. So you have certain investigations have an easier chance of passing, and you have a higher chance of passing your insights. Perception is if you fail, it's probably because of dice rolls. A actual points in technology, which even though it could be higher, 6 still is good from going from 0 to 6. Treatment of if you fail, it's because of dice rolls. Do you want to put anything in your persuasion? This is sitting at an 11 right now.
Yeah, we can put 2 points.
Well, you have 5 points left. How many points do you want to put in it?
2.
2? Okay, 2 points.
Yeah.
Turns it into a 15. 3 points left. Let me double check advantages for any advantages that could possibly assist you. Oh, do you want hide in plain sight?
Yes.
For those playing in home, hide in plain sight pretty much lets an individual who is being observed hide without needing a distraction. That point there. Let me double check this. 4, 7, 12. That was 24. 25 with that one. So on top of the 25 point. Yeah, you got 50 points spent. Did I do math wrong? That was 5. My brain doesn't want to brain, but yeah, it works out to 50 points spent so far. Um,
So I still have 7 points left.
yeah, my brain wanted to brain wrong.
Okay.
Something else. Boom, 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 boom. You can get tracking that lets you use perception to follow tracks. So if someone is able to hide from your ability to detect thoughts, and or aren't within range of your detect thoughts, you can use tracking to follow tracks to find those said individuals.
Hmm.
And
That's interesting. Do we have anything else?
uh, double checking. You could overinvest in the advantage luck, which lets you re-roll a die roll, and for every rank you have, it's the number of die rolls you make. Now, when you use luck to do a re-roll, you can't use luck on a luck roll. So, for instance, if you roll like a 5 and you want to luck it to potentially get higher, and then you roll a 1, you can't luck it again. But
Okay.
you can spend what's, for instance, say all 7 of your remaining points in luck, which means per game session, per game session, you'll have 7 free rerolls.
With the dice spot having been as horrible as it has been to us, I think I'm gonna take that.
You want all 7 ranks put into it?
Yeah.
Okay, that means that you don't necessarily have to overstress failing anything, because if you primarily save them for nat ones, then there's a very good chance you can openly just not stress failing. So to recap, your move object can affect heavier objects and do more damage. You fly faster, and because of your advantages, you not only get 7 free rerolls, but your telekinesis for combat is a lot more efficient because you still keep the +10 while doing more damage and having a higher chance of dodging. And when it comes to your skills, your insight, investigation are a lot better than what they once were. Your chances of failing a perception check and or a treatment check are the dice spot doesn't like you, but you also have luck, so you can luck your way out of those. You can actually stealth and use technology. And you are somewhat better at persuading people to do particular things because your persuasion is now better. So, which does. I'm getting burpy now. Help you out a lot. Now, in comparison to how well you think this season went versus last season, you got 57 points this season, but it was only 22 last season. And that's because you missed a lot more episodes then. Uh, but you are done. So next season, you're going to be able to start the ground running with being able to help the party out with certain skills that was somewhat lacking. So Techno doesn't have to stress it so much. Uh, then there's also the fact that when it comes to combat, you're going to have a better performance because the bad guys are going to have a harder time fighting you. Simply because you're going to wreck face a wee bit more. The next person, uh, because he has other things he's currently having to do. Shiro, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. At this point, because you were able to retrieve this item, this game, with this particular season, you have to decide if it's going to be permanent or not. And also, if everyone's listening here, do not necessarily get discouraged about your points because Shuro has the tied for highest attendance and was here for everything. So he does get 70 points to spend. To keep the Moonslayer, it's going to cost you 19 points.
Okay, that's fine.
Now it's ratified. It is now officially yours. That's the big change here. Let me double check to see what can be perfected upon to better make your character better. Because you are a warrior, a weapons master. Brain wanted to stop. Uh, Now your primary thing you cooked for that was super hearing, and your healing factor, which because of what happened last season, you were able to make your healing factor better by making it persistent and restorative, so it helps get rid of all conditions, and unless and because it's persistent, you also that helps fight off incurable things. You have options like for 5 points, supervision, which will give you dark vision, extend your vision, and microvision, so like you can see smaller details.
Sure.
It's funny because now I'm having sight problems hearing him. But because this is a lot of stuff to boom, ba-boom, ba-boom, I'm not the fastest typer.
Sure. Isn't Carol on? It looks like he's on mute.
Yeah, I'm on mute.
Oh, I could barely hear you too.
I have a lot of background.
It's one of those things that technology's being weird. I can slightly copy paste some of it, ba-boom, to make it easier. Yay! Because copy and pasting is excellent. Does this power... Almost put the wrong word. Do-do. Okay, like I said, that's 5 points. And it gives you... So now you can see a lot farther. Not just here. But you can see a lot farther. See in darkness, so you don't need light sources. And see smaller objects. No, that's boom. Now, if you technically want, it will cost you 15 points, but you could double your healing factor to 10. What was that?
He said, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, I turned you up there.
Yes.
Yes. So now it's a 10. And that costs you 15 points. So I go here, so 39. Now you are quasi lacking in the skill department for a bunch of different skills. Like, for instance, your technology is 0. Would you like to put points into technology?
Just technology covered.
Well, for example, last season, well, not last season, in the past season, in the 12 or so episodes, there's been multiple points where Techno could have used assistance in repairing things. Like when you guys were at the power plant. he was doing most of the legwork, being assisted by Allstrike. And when your party was trying to correct and fix the power junctions to better have power throughout parts of the city, he was doing pretty much most of the legwork. Uh, because only one other person actually at the time had the ability to aid him, because everyone else couldn't. When it comes to properly using the communication equipment or computer equipment at the base, unless it was something super simple, well, not a lot of party members used them because not everyone actually had the tech skill to properly operate them. So there was several points to where if you would have had stuff in it, it would have benefited the scenario. And because the party will most likely plan on going to like the sewage plant and the water filtration plants in season 3, having people that have the ability to make the repair checks needed would be more important than just having one person do it all.
Okay.
Are you comfortable with 5 points being dumped into it?
Yeah.
Does that put you to a 10? Okay, your stealth is pretty spot on. You don't really need to put it out. You don't really use sleight of hand. You have 2 different perception scores. One is a 9 in normal, but once you go spider, it becomes a 17. So would you like to put more points into it so you don't have to be in spider form all the time in order to get that bonus?
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Give me a number between 1 and 5. Well, not between, from 1 to 5.
How
Well,
many points do I have left?
You spent 44 points out of 70, and most of those points went
Yeah,
to your
put
powers.
5.
You want 5, which means that becomes that, which does mean, oh, you're going to find this funny, because your current power rank, when you're in normal form, you have 19, but when you go to activate your spider stuff, because of the maximums, its party's cap is technically 20. So right now you're only 1 point off, so you don't need to be spidered up to actually spot things. There's only 1 point difference, and that is 5 points, which puts that to a 9. There, so that's 49 points spent. Now insight, you don't have anything in. And even in Season 1, you consecutively failed your insight checks because you don't have anything in it. Your investigation is only a 6. Would you like those to be increased?
Increased, yeah. Yeah.
Are you okay with 5 points being put into each one?
Yes.
Which means you now have a... Oh, I did not mean to hit that. A 10 insight and a 16 into investigation. So you have a good chance of passing insight and a greater chance of passing investigation checks, which is always needed. What would you like to put stuff in treatment so that way more of the party's capable of treating certain ailments and injuries, so you're not just over relying on the hyper intelligent Techno and or the supreme expertness of Ren, because like it was pointed out earlier, not everyone is able to be here at every single game session, so there might be a point where Unfortunately, Ren and or Techno won't be present to do those treatment checks.
Yeah, I guess.
Are you okay with 5 points being spent into it?
Sure.
That gives you a 10, and we still have points to spend. Let's take a look at other things first, because you do have a lot of advantages, which are the ones you technically need. Skills are pretty covered. Your likelihood to stay down has just decreased. You can hear a lot better. Brain, not wanting to overly brain on where we could spend your last 6 points. Well, because there is no set limit to it, we could put your remaining points into, because you already have one rank into it, we could put them into improved initiative, and what that will do, because you get bonus +4 per point in it, so we could give you a additional 24 points to initiative, meaning unless I roll really high, you're practically always going first. Or we can take those 6 points and put them into luck, giving you 6 free rerolls in it in each episode.
Let's put it into luck.
Okay.
No. Well, can I put 1 point into initiative, 5 into luck?
Yeah, so you can have luck of 5 and 1 additional point in initiative. So you go from a 9 to a 13, which 9 was already pretty decent, but having a 13 is even better. And you get 5 rerolls each game, which does mean if you roll crappy on initiative, you can decide to burn a luck to increase it. But that means all 70 points have been spent. And because this season was better than last season, 29 points were last season. So yeah, it's not quite where I can justify doing that. Boom. But it does mean you Shiro are done. The next person, we will do All Strike. Dun dun dun.
Oh, okay.
Yes. We'll between giving Techno a little bit more time, Vigil is going to be possibly a lot quicker because he doesn't have much points to spend. You, All Strike, have 62 points.
Oh, okay.
But because you are a battle suit operator, a lot of your stuff is about the suits. Which means there are certain things we can now do to your suits to possibly enhance your performances with the suits. Your comm systems
Okay.
are pretty set. You don't need that any higher because it's already good. Life support's also set because it can't boom. Can't get any more benefits out of that. that's pretty. A lot of your stuff is technically pretty set. Before it starts getting to the point where we're just copying everyone else. When it comes to advantages, there's probably a couple of different advantages you could take to possibly aid you, because you do have all-out attack, which is for your attacks, which is pretty much you decrease the DC to increase your accuracy. You could technically take the approach that Ren's taking and go to and spend 2 points to get defensive and power attack. Which
Well, I was thinking about that.
Which then, to better adjust that, we can adjust your range attack for your focus beam to counteract that, and for close combat, your unarmed strike to help counteract that. Would you like to go that route?
Yes, I would.
Okay, which... I'll do the hard work math. Boom. Because normally those would take away from your attack at 5 points each. Which, before we do certain adjustments with the skills, this is purely at the moment. Because once we take care of the skill stuff, this will actually change. So don't let this discourage you. Your defensive power attack would increase your DC for your damage by 5, setting it to 32, while setting your defenses from an 8 to a 13. But until we fix the skill problem, you're at -2 to hit. Now, like I said, that's
Okay.
That's before we fix the skill problem, which we can start to work on that right this moment. Because for the most part, you're relying on your high fighting and your other attributes for your hits with your ranged. So you have other things that have been increasing, like range attack 6 and a dex of 2 is one reason you have a +8 for the force beam, and you have a fighting 8, which is why you normally have an 8 to your unarmed strike. So that's normally an 8. No, I want you to copy. Let me copy. Which means in order to get your attack back up to that 8, we would be needing to spend 5 points into both categories. It was 5 in close combat unarmed strike and 5 into range combat force beam. Which will be counteracting your minuses. So that way they both go from a -2 to a +8. So even though you may not have the accuracy of all-out attack, you have the better damage output, and you have you're harder to hit. And that's a total of only spending 12 points so far.
Okay.
So for 12, like I said, so for 12 points, you get to keep your +8 while doing 32 DC 32 and increasing your defense by 13. So that's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
Uh, Now, you have an investigation of 0.
Yeah, no, I
Oh,
want to
wait, why is it?
increase that. I want to take that.
It's actually supposed to have that. For some reason, it wasn't plugged in correctly for your intelligence, which that's an intelligence skill, so you have a 5. So technically, you're supposed to be sitting at a 5. Are you okay with 10 points? 10 points, 5 points being thrown into it to give you a +10 in ranks?
Yep.
Which means because your intelligence of 5, you have a 15. It's only 5 points spent. Now your insight is a 6. Are you okay with 5 points being spent to it to increase it to a 16?
Yes.
Now your perception, which is only a 4. Would you like that to be maxed out, or are you okay with 5 points being put into it?
Well, how much is it if I max it out?
Because for 8 points, you'll be able to get 16 more ranks into it. So it's 8 points to max it out. Are you okay with it?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, I'm okay with it.
8 points. 8 whole points. Best view. There's a view bot in my chat right now. Okay. So now you have the dice bot hates you, or you're looking for something extremely stealthy. For your
Well, I've
perception.
never been very stealthy.
Well, no, it's like for any creature trying to for you trying to spot a well, it's your perception versus their stealth. So it's either they're really stealthy or the dice bot hates you. There's a perception of 20 is really good, so you're up there with them. You have a tech of +13. We could spend 3 points to turn it to a 19.
Okay.
So you're only 1 point lower than Techno, but a 19 is still really, really good. Let me double check here. Do you?
Now, would the range combat skill and close combat skill be anything that I should add to my?
Well, we already spent points in it to counteract the defensive attack and power attack.
Oh, okay. I
And
didn't realize
because
it
of
was already put in there.
well, that's part of the thing when I when we did the defensive and power attack, I immediately went to details on how much points being spending on both of those skills to actually make it so you counteract the -10 to it.
Okay.
So you're no longer getting those. So that's why when I officially close everything out and send everyone the updated character sheets, you'll see that you still have your accurate attack, which is a 13 with a DC 22, your normal attack, which is an 8 and a DC 27, but you'll have a DA/PA, which is defensive attack, power attack, which is a +8, DC 32, with a parenthesis dodge/parry of +13, because until the start of your next turn, instead of rolling with 8, you're rolling with a 13.
Okay.
Um, Now, we could, if you want to fly a little faster, so you'll be able to keep up with certain other party members, we could um, put your flight from your jet boots from 8 to 10. So instead of going at 500 miles an hour, you're going at 2,000 miles an hour. And that's only going to cost you 4
Okay.
points.
2 points? Yeah. Should I put something in treatment? I was going to ask you that because right now I don't. Well, it shows none. I don't have any, but if you go with my intelligence, yeah,
It was somewhat skipped over because you have a 5 from your intelligence. So technically you have a 5, which isn't terrible, but it means you're going straight off your intellect. Kind of like how Techno only had a 10. That's because Techno is an extremely brilliant individual, so he's over relying on that intelligence for a lot of his dice rolls, which isn't bad.
yeah,
because it's a +10, but it also benefits to spend the points to take that specific skill and skyrocket it.
okay,
If you want, we can dump 5 points in it to take it to a 15.
yeah. Let's do that.
Which means you still have 20 points left to spend. Okay.
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 Is there anything else I need to add to the suit currently?
Well, I'm trying to work out things that can be justified added to the suit to make the suit better, because the die rolls are the only things that are hindering you, not the suit itself. Being a wee bit faster
Right.
helps everyone, not just you. Comm systems are already spot on. The sensor suite is already spot on. This is somewhat the problem with having a character that already starts with stuff at a point where it's hard to justify them being higher.
Okay.
It's also one of the reasons why
Well,
skills become important, because you didn't really necessarily have super high on a lot of the skills that are technically important.
okay. I didn't know. I mean, no, the flight. Yeah, I can see an increase in
Yeah.
that, and that. Like you said, the sensory and everything seems to be okay right now.
Yeah,
What other
especially
advantages
because
can I go with?
advantages. Let's double check what
I'm
it is.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, it's a good question. Let's see, what advantages do you have first? What could possibly help you? Uh, well, I mean, because you have the flight system stuff, you could take the interpose, which means when an ally is going to be hit, you can interpose self and take the hit for them. So,
Oh,
for
okay.
instance, certain characters that aren't beefy because they don't necessarily have a high toughness, Like for instance, Shuro doesn't have a high toughness. He's not necessarily known for taking the hit when it comes to hit, so he over relies on his healing factor.
Okay.
And both Techno and Ren are over reliant on their imperviousness. And Vigil is in a similar boat as Shuro. He can't really take the hit because he only has a 6 modifier, but he has a healing factor to help with that. So to a certain degree, you don't need interpose because a portion of the party has either some form of imperviousness, which means they ignore a certain amount of damage, or they have high toughnesses, while the ones that have low toughnesses, you don't necessarily need to overly stress because they have a healing factor.
Okay.
But still not necessarily a bad one to have, just in case. But you don't have to have it. Here's one that could also help you. It's called teamwork. When you do when you roll to do a aid check, you get additional +5 to your die roll for the aid check. Therefore, you have a higher chance of benefiting whoever you're helping.
I like that one.
I'm going to double check it real quick because I like to make sure I'm not speaking out my ass. Don. Okay. Yeah, I was correct. Which, just like in this past season, there was multiple team checks and aid checks that were done where that could have possibly helped out a lot more.
Oh yeah.
This is gonna sound like a cheat, and because your character is technically has being a battle suit operator, you have to have a certain degree of knowledge. There's a advantage called well informed. What this one does, and I'm going directly to it, so I'm not spinning this. You are especially well informed when encountering an individual, group, or organization for the first time. You can make an immediate investigation check or persuasion skill check to see if your character has heard of something about the subject. Use the guidelines for gathering information investigation skill to determine the level of information gained. You receive only one check per subject for the first encountering of them. The GM may allow another upon encountering the subject again once time has passed. But it can also technically be applied to particular circumstances. For instance, when you run into pieces of technology that you may or may not know something about, I can grant you an immediate investigation check because it's higher than your persuasion to see if you automatically know something about it.
Okay. That sounds.
If it's stuff related to your field that you may or may not automatically know, I can say, hey, can you roll this for me? Oh, hey, no need to do all this stuff here. You automatically know something about it because you are a tech-based character.
Okay. That one sounds good. Can I get both of the ones we talked about? The teamwork and that one?
Yeah. Well, you have the point. You have the points for it, so it's not stopping you from getting it,
Okay.
which is good. Double checking to see if there's any ones that are actually going to be good that fit your character. Do you have it? You can take move by action, which lets you do a partial move before you do like an attack roll and then finish the rest of your move. So, like for instance, how you can like fly at 2,000 miles an hour, you can technically like fly 1,000 miles, attack something 1,000 miles away, and then fly back to where you were. It doesn't have to be the
Okay.
maximum of 2,000 miles, but you get to move, do an attack, and move.
Oh, okay. That sounds like a good one to have.
That is another.
Now, am I? Okay.
Go ahead.
Now, go ahead. Do what figure it out. I was going
Right,
to
just
ask you another
get the
question
point.
about
Go ahead, ask.
multi attack. Could I use that with this character?
Yes, the catch 22 is multi attack, increases the cost of the what you're applying it to. So, for instance, adding multi attack to your unarmed strike, which is coming from your suit, it'll cost 12 whole points.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll get that another time.
Well, the benefit is because your force beam is a alternate. It's technically an alternate effect from your servo motors. By applying that to your servo motors for your unarmed strike, we can then for free apply it to your
Force
focus
beam.
beam. So even though you're spending 12 points, you're having it affect both your melee and your ranged attacks.
Well, I'll rather do that if I still can. If I'm not,
Yeah, you still have the points.
Oh,
It
okay.
may cost 12 points, but it takes your 44 spent to 56 spent.
Oh, okay.
So you have, like I said, you have the points. And making a side note there and a side note there. You just have to remember that multi-attack is a cumulative penalty if you're targeting multiple targets. So the first one, no penalty. The second one, -1. Third one, -2. Fourth one, -4. So each additional one after the first one applies bigger and bigger penalty. If you're doing multi-attack against a single target, you get bonus to damage, or bonus to the DC effect, based on the degrees of success. Hitting doesn't do it. You have to get it by 2 degrees or higher before that bonus kicks in. For instance, if you get 2 degrees or higher, which is pretty much a difference of 6 or more, 2 gets added to the DC. If it's 3 degrees or more, which is an 11 or higher difference between what you rolled to hit and what they rolled for defense, you add 5 to it. Which means multi-attack will have a better odds of kicking in when you do your all-out attack than with your other ones, because it's a difference of a 13 and 8. But if you still declare that you're multi-attacking when you do your defensive power attack, there's still a chance based on how well you roll versus how poor they roll. So short and long term,
okay.
it still benefits you greatly.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Now, because I know this would come up if Techno was able to actually join us, because he hasn't responded or joined in yet. But your focus beam does do fire damage because it's a laser. Now, due to the brief interactions with cold-based things, stuff like that, you technically do have an option for an additional point to have a secondary type of beam. So instead of being a normal force beam, it could be a normal, not normal, a cold beam. So now it's doing cold-based damage instead of fire-based damage.
Okay. That sounds actually. I was going to ask you about alternate things for the force beam, but yeah, that works.
Because that means I just. No, I don't want all of that. I want this. And that will only cost you 1 point because it's an alternate
Okay.
effect.
Okay.
So you have a force and a cold, which I can technically. Replace force with cold. Yay. So that helps there. Where can we also spend stuff to make you boom? This is some of the problems with getting a lot of points. You end up running out of certain things to spend them in.
How many points do I have left?
5. Now, if you want, because this will somewhat be funny, we can put them into stealth. So instead of rolling, because it goes off of agility and you actually have a 1 agility, so technically it should be a 1. Don't know why that didn't translate over well. We can take those 5 points, put them into stealth, which will turn your stealth into from a 1 to an 11, meaning when it comes to stealth-based things, you can actually have a chance of passing them.
You know, I actually have that one written down. I had a question about whether or not I can use that.
And well, you have 5 points left. We can spend it there, and you can actually have a decent stealth.
Okay, let me do that.
So now you have 11, and that's all your points spent. Meaning you, mademoiselle, are done. Yes, Saint, I can see you.
Do what?
Saint is in my lobby right now, doing stuff. So I interaction with a viewer.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking to me.
No, that was him. But I said you are now all done to site recap. Your suit now runs faster by 1,500 miles, so that's not tiny. That may 2 points may not necessarily seem like a big difference, but 1,500 miles increase an hour, that's a huge difference.
Oh, yeah.
You can now target multiple targets with your attacks, and or just over target one, while also now being able to switch to a cold beam. Which does help for combat tactics. You now have a actual decent insight investigation, so that's going to help out a lot. A perception of I can see you. A actual stealth score, better technology, so less likelihood of failing, and you can actually treat people for medicine, while also getting moved by action, better teamwork based roles, a chance to know particular things, and additional attack forms, which mainly is going to be a defensive / power attack. So you have an easier chance of downing enemies and not getting hits.
I like that.
Which leaves us with the very last person who is currently here. Hi, Vigil. Can you hear me, Vigil?
I'm sorry, I went to go grab a blanket. I'm freezing.
Okay. You're probably gonna laugh because even though you haven't been with the show for very long, for the 4 episodes you were able to be present for, you've gotten 33 points.
What?
You were present during several big point give things, and the episodes you were part of did do pretty well. There's even though episodes 10 and 11 got you a bundle of points, and then the overall can't believe I did that while live streaming. Oh well. Brain stopped working. And the overall good the season did got you a decent amount of points. Yes, dance.
Right on, right on.
Boom. Now, particular things have. Did I not? Oh, I already did. Now there is several things you could do. You don't have to if you don't want to. Is at this moment in time you can end up getting a for 10 points a jetpack. Do you want a jetpack?
What about that genetic thing that happened?
Oh, you mean the thing that made you slightly more attractive and increase some of your stats?
Uh-huh.
Well,
because you said that would benefit on how I'm trying to build my character.
I was gonna get to that, but I wanted to fix one problem first, which was the slight problem of you not wanting to be carried by everyone when the party decided to fly like bats out of hell to wherever they were going.
What are my other options? Because, I don't like the idea of a jetpack at the moment.
Well, the other options for transportation is because the environment, the water between where the party base is and the city is still frozen, so you could still use your bike to go across there. Does that simply just because you have two very skilled tech-based people in the party, it's just a few alterations to the bike that doesn't actually hurt you point-wise, and it can actually run on ice. So you can use the bike to get to the city and back and around the city, so you don't have to have a jetpack.
So I'll get with in season 3. I'll get with those people to do that.
Yeah. So you don't have to. The 33 points you don't have to actually spend on that.
Yeah, because I feel like if I have the jetpack, then I'm still not going to move as fast as everybody else. So if I'm still not going to move as fast as everybody else, I might as well just use the bike and have it altered to fit the terrain. In that sense, and then use those points to better round my character.
Well, before we get to the skills, because the skills are the biggest thing that needs to be rounded for anyone, the optional power you have at the moment for the particular thing that happened to you, you're probably going to find this funny because it somewhat fits in, is if you're willing to, you can get the power that is, that will be, as my brain doesn't want to spell, the damage power, but it will have the slight, well, it technically counts as a flaw called limit. Limited to melee weapons.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I use.
Yes, it is. And apparently I can't spell, and it doesn't want me to use the correct, well, what my brain's telling me to correctly spell it. But what this pretty much will mean... Oh, I did spell it incorrectly. Is when you pick up a melee weapon, you're adding a amount of fire damage equal to... it doesn't really let you overdo your normal maximums, but it permits you to add the fire effect and potentially damage to your fire attacks for 2 ranks for 1 point.
Yes.
Which that can be...
And is that the highest rank I can get for that, or can I make that higher?
It can go higher, but like I said, we have to work around the maximum DC your attack can have. Because at the moment, the DC is 20 with a plus 15, which is a really high to hit and a okay damage. If we were to apply the fire damage to the DC will go up at the moment by 1, but your accuracy will drop by 1. Because your hit modifier plus the overall damage rank of the attack combined cannot exceed 20. So because you have currently a 4 damage rank weapon and 3 strength, but the chain whip's going for more accuracy over damage, we can only use 5 out of that. So you can keep that 15.
Okay.
But it is now a fiery chain, which means if you come across opponents that are, let's say, immune to bludgeoning, you still do damage based off of the fire attribute.
Okay.
So you no longer have to stress it. And to keep the damage rank technically the same, by spending 1 additional point to increase the damage rank to 4, what it means is if you hit something that is highly resistant or immune to bludgeoning, your DC on your damage... Oh, actually, no, we don't need to actually have it spend that extra point to do it. Because you have a strength of 3, and that's applied to damage effects. So technically, that melee damage effect will still trigger off of that. Yeah, so technically, right now, because what it's currently at, if let's say the inhuman juggernaut that's imprisoned at the frosty ant cave, if that breaks free and you go to fight it, your chain now can be used against it, because even though it's immune to bludgeoning, it's not immune to fire. So therefore, you can still actually damage it, because it's not immune to it. Impervious becomes the slight problem, which technically there is a way around that, because on the damage, which my brain's telling me I just misspelled that. There's my brain's being stupid. So you have to give me a moment. Oh yeah, I did misspell it. I put the M and the G in the wrong spots. I have no idea why I did that. But added to that is the perk called penetration, or penetrating. What that does is it's a flat 1 per rank of this. And it lets you better bypass imperviousness. Like, for instance, let's use Superman as an example. Superman has a 14 imperviousness. Oh no, sorry, not 14, but a 19 imperviousness, which means you need a 9 or higher damage rank to damage it. If you don't have that, like for instance, the web is a damage rank 4, augmented by your strength, which becomes 5, you normally wouldn't have the ability to damage him. But if you put at least 4 points of penetrating on your fire damage, it means your bludgeoning damage he doesn't care about, but your penetrating on the fire damage, by having at least 4 ranks. Well, not sorry, 4. 4 ranks, puts you just high enough for him to actually have to roll against your damage, because you're, instead of trying to focus on breaking rules or breaking the system by just doing overly high amounts of damage to work against individuals with impervious, you're using the natural counter to imperviousness called penetrating. And by applying this to your fire damage, that's limited to melee weapons, anytime you pick up a melee weapon and you attack with it, if the whatever weapon doesn't work against them, the fire damage is practically guaranteed to work against them.
Yeah, and I can do that right now?
Yes. We can put anywhere between 1 to 10 penetrating on
it. Let's do 4 for right now and put that as tentative and move on. And if I'm not sure where I want to put the other points, I'll add more points into the penetrating.
Yeah. Because that's only... Yeah, so we're already at 5 points spent.
Out of the 33?
Yep.
Nice. Yeah.
So
I do want to do that. I do want to do that thing that All Strike has, where it's the aid help, where I get a bonus to aid rolls, if possible.
teamwork.
Oh, what?
Teamwork.
Yeah,
Teamwork.
teamwork. Yeah.
So whenever you roll a aid other check or a teamwork check, you get additional +5 to your die roll. So therefore, you have an easier time helping them.
Mhm.
So we're at 6 points spent.
Yeah. And when I heard that, I was like, yeah, that's a guaranteed because there are um, as much as I would like to work on my own bike, it doesn't make sense for me to put points that can hinder my character and the way I want to build it.
Yeah.
To be able to do that when there's people in the party that could be willing to do that.
Yeah. When it comes to skills, there's a few skills I'm gonna flat recommend you put stuff into because it either has next to nothing in it or just flat out sucks. Your perception is a 9, which isn't necessarily bad, but it could be somewhat better.
Yeah, because I want to be. Because let me pull up my character sheet. Um,
And just like with the rest of the party, for the moment, like a lot of them, they're technically set until a certain point is given to when their power levels go up. Because again, like 20 is pretty much the limit of a usable modifier. So getting that earlier than later is always better. Otherwise,
yeah, because I'm wanting to be able to, um, for one, be able to kind of move quickly, be stealthy, and have good perception to be able to um, perceive things and hear things.
Well, because you have the points, and it's not necessarily expensive to do this, we can drop, for instance, 5 points to turn your 9 perception into a 19.
Okay.
Like I said, that's 9. I mean, that's only 5 points, which we're now at 11 spins, so you're only 1/3 into what a spend. Your stealth is a 13, and like I said, it is the usable cap. So we can drop 3 into it, which will add 6 to it to put it to a 19. Are you okay with that?
Yep.
That's only 3 points. Yay. So now you went from having a okay to both of those to pretty much almost max. So like I said with everyone else, if you fail a perception or a stealth roll, it's either because the dice bot hates you, or you're going against something that has a horrendous big bonus. Because again, power level does cap those bonuses, so you can kind of get a gauge for what you're fighting based on how much of a bonus it gets to its skills.
Yep.
Do you want to raise your vehicle at all?
Yeah.
How many?
I'm thinking. How many points do I have left?
You spent 14 out of 33, so you have like 19
Okay.
points left.
How many points? So I'm at 9 right now.
Well, you have 19 leftover points. You have a modifier of a 19. If you want to try to mid-max it, you can dump 5 points to turn it into a 19.
Yeah.
Because
that's what I was thinking. Because I was either thinking of like anywhere from 15 to kind of start out with, and then go from there.
Yeah, because right now, turning that 9 to a 19 by spending those 5 points. pretty much means you're possibly never failing any of those checks ever again.
Mm-hmm.
Those are generally good. Those ACs are usually low. Your intimidation is goddamn.
Yeah.
Because there is 14 points left, there is a way to increase your healing factor. And
Which I was going to ask about.
We can spend 10 points by adding persistent and restorative to it. What that pretty much, because normally when your regeneration kicks in, you remove one condition every 2 turns based on what it's at. By adding restorative to it, there's certain conditions that it automatically starts to fix, like mainly exhaustion and or certain weakness based things. While persistent means you can recover from incurable damage. What incurable damage is pretty much you get hit with it and it stays with you until someone's able to medically remove it.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's do that. And then that leaves me with what, 3 points left?
Yep, then let me do this first. Let me double check this. For some reason, my math just did not math right. And I want to make sure that I do not... Okay, that's... 1 is 1, so that's 5 points. Yeah, it is 10 points. So yay. Four points left.
Cool. I want to put the remaining points into the penetrating.
So we can take that penetrating from a 4 to an 8. And that means you are done. To recap, your perception, stealth, and vehicle are 19, which is really outrageously good. So, like I said, you're most likely going to pass all of those. You have the teamwork, so now you're better at 8 doing A checks, because you get a +5 to your own roll to see if you do it. So even though you're lacking on certain other skills that you may want to aid on, that helps counteract that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Your healing factor, even though it's still a 5, is now persistent and restorative, which means you can recover from weakness effects and you don't care about persistent incurable damage. And
And just burn it away.
And through your newfound angelic abilities, angelic opportunities, you now, whenever you grab a hold of a melee weapon, it lights on fire, which not only helps you bypass immunities or resistances, it means that your melee attacks are penetrating 8. Therefore, like said, for instance, your DC 20, you're counted as a total 13 when it comes 13 rank damage when it comes to impervious things. So, for instance, like normally you would have a problem hurting pretty much the rest of the party because like Ren, Techno, and All Strike have imperviousness of high enough rank that you couldn't damage them. Now, because your chain wraps around and pretty much gets its penetrating fire, you can now look at them with the look of, I get to hurt you real good. So it's like they now actually have to roll against it, even though it's still a 20, so they have a good chance of doing beating it. You still get to look at them and go, I don't care, because you also have to power attack with it, which turns the DC from a 20 to 25. So you still get to go, I don't care, beat a DC 25, because I'm gonna whoop your butt from 15 feet away. Smack. It also comes with multi-attack, so that plus 15 and multi-attack is helping you out a lot, too.
Yeah.
So
that, and I have, I also have the grab, hold, trip.
Yeah, so you can really mess with them. Or you can switch to the crippling strike.
Mm-hmm.
So you can impair, hinder, or incapacitate them if they fail that fortitude check. Yay. So the only person that needs to be updated is the only person that was not able to make it to today's game session or today's maintenance episode. So I will be trying to get with him before the start of season 3. And it does look like, unless I get pretty much everyone dropping out, there is going to be a season 3. And I do look forward to providing you viewers with excellent content.
Yes, and is there a date for the start of season 3?
Next Saturday.
Oh, so it's like happening. Okay.
Yeah, so unless something happens to interfere with that Saturday that is going to stop me from hosting episode 1 of season 3, there is going to be next week is going to be the start of season 3. The only reason it wouldn't is if I get a unanimous vote and decision from all 4 of you to postpone the start of season 1.
Season 3, but so, yeah, I didn't know if y'all did like a week or 2 break from it to between seasons or anything, since I'm coming in.
At the moment, there is to keep with the habit of staying in touch of doing something on Saturdays while keeping a consistent upload time. Everything's happening still. Boom. The break between seasons is the 7 days it takes for the next Saturday to hop around.
Yeah.
So unless something happens to stop me from hosting and or that stops my heroes from showing up, season 3 will be starting next week.
Okay.
So hopefully everyone's able to show up. Hopefully I can get together with Techno to resolve what needs done with him. But on that note, I will be making sure I saved and send everyone everything they needed for their updated heroes. And for those who watch this, thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and we will catch you next week for the start of season 3.
Yeah.